Right, so the military leaders of a coup in Niger say that they've formed a new government. The 21-member government has been announced ahead of a crucial summit today of Niger's West African neighbours in Nigeria. Meanwhile, top diplomats from the United Nations, African Union and the Economic Community of West African States will meet in the Nigerian capital of Abuja today to discuss the situation in Niger. The meeting comes as the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs warns the federal government and ECOWAS against carrying out military action in Niger. President Mohamed Bazoum was ousted in a coup in the West African country last month. A former rebel leader politician has launched a movement opposing the military government. All right, so for the latest, we're going to cross to SABC News correspondent Ajeck Mangut in Abuja, Nigeria. Ajeck, good afternoon. Perhaps you could just bring us the latest. There's obviously the crucial summit taking place today. Perhaps you could walk us through what's set atop the agenda.
Yes, indeed. That meeting is quite crucial and it's currently underway in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, given the recent developments in Niger since the coup 2 weeks ago. We do understand that the delegations that have been sent by ECOWAS to try and negotiate with the military junta are briefing the ECOWAS leaders, and whatever decision they take, according to political and security experts, would have to take this recent developments into account, like the defiance of the junta in terms of closing the airspace and also appointing new ministers to run the military government. We also, expect that meeting is actually happening behind closed doors. And after that meeting, we should expect to hear what position or the next step that ECOWAS is going to take. It has said that military intervention is going to be the last resort, but it has been trying to engage the military junta with negotiations. But so far, that has not yielded much result. The last we've seen was a personal effort by a former emir of Kano and a former central bank governor who met with the junta, and he is also briefing the president, President Bola Tinubu, who is also the chair of ECOWAS, and so they would have to take all of that into consideration before announcing the next step of action to take on Niger. We also do understand that they will be briefed in terms of the outcome of the meeting by the ECOWAS defense chiefs, where a plan was laid out in case ECOWAS decide to take military intervention in Niger.
All right, so Ajeck, we're obviously anticipating the next step, the Nigerian Supreme Council advising against military action at this point. We also heard the latest after the military leaders coming out to say that they've now formed a new government. Can you comment on what impact this is obviously having, perhaps in terms of alliances and realliances as we assess the dynamics unfolding?
Well, this security and political analysts have said that this development would certainly complicate the efforts by ECOWAS to try and pressure the military junta to restore President Bazoum's government. We've seen the junta being defiant since ECOWAS issued an ultimatum which expired on Sunday, but they have said that they are not going to bow to any pressure, and they've said that they are going to protect Niger against any regional or Western intervention. But outside that, we've seen the US, we've seen countries in the EU calling on ECOWAS to be cautious in terms of sending a military intervention into Niger. We've also seen, even in Nigeria, where President Bola Tinubu, who is the chair of ECOWAS, being advised to explore other diplomatic channels and to try and extend the deadline for military intervention because of the impact that this could have on not just Niger but also some communities in Nigeria who that share border with Niger and have to trade with one another. Already there's a humanitarian crisis in Niger. The UN has raised concern about humanitarian aid depleting because of the closure of the airspace and the closure of borders, and humanitarian aid not getting to a number of people, and the fear that this could also push more people into hunger and starvation. And so the ECOWAS is being advised to be cautious in its approach. And then security experts are also, expecting that maybe there will be more sanctions from today's meeting to sort of pressure the military there to hand over power.
Ajeck, absolutely. I wonder if you have managed to get reactions or an understanding of the sentiments on the ground, just alluding to the potential humanitarian crisis that obviously could unfold in Niger, perhaps also along the border of Nigeria and neighboring countries.
Well, we do understand that some Nigerians are actually stockpiling provisions, as they await the outcome of the ECOWAS meeting today in Abuja. The situation, especially in the capital, we understand is a little bit tense because they don't know what exactly ECOWAS is going to decide, at the end of the day. But in the wake of the coup, we've seen, protests on the streets of the capital, Niamey, where people came out in their thousands to support the coup plotters. They've said that the ousted president, Mohamed Bazoum, did not do much to end insurgency in the country. And so a lot of people in Niger are supporting the coup plotters or the people who have overthrown President Bazoum's government. That's what we've seen so far. But there's actually anxiety and fear as to the outcome of today's meeting and what impact it will have in terms of the humanitarian crisis there and the impact of the sanctions that would have on the economy of Niger.
Oh, Ajeck, thank you for that update. Ajeck Mangut is our correspondent live from Abuja, Nigeria, really just bringing us the latest. We're obviously monitoring developments unfolding within that region. Military leaders of the coup in Niger saying that they've now formed a new government. We're also looking at the outcomes after top diplomats from the United Nations, the AU and the ECOWAS, in fact, meeting in Abuja today to discuss the situation in Niger and the potential risks also involved in terms of the decisions that will be made. So we'll continue to monitor that situation as it unfolds, perhaps staying with news further afield. On that matter, as the ECOWAS summit gets underway in Abuja, European leaders will be watching, hoping that a diplomatic solution, in fact, can also be found that results in the reinstatement of ousted President Mohamed Bazoum. Well, SABC News correspondent Cullen reports from Paris.
Well, the European Union has been closely watching the situation in Niger since the 26th of July, when the military removed the democratically elected president, Mohamed Bazoum, from office. And since then, the key demand of Western powers has been the immediate reinstatement of the president. But so far, the military junta has refused to do that. The position of Italy and Germany is that there should be a diplomatic solution above all else. And it has agreed with the positions taken by ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States, fully supporting the imposition of economic sanctions. That's also something that France supports. But Paris has to tread lightly and carefully because it's the former colonial power in the region, and France does still have 1,500 troops inside Niger. It has been carrying out recently a lot of evacuation flights for its civilians in the Nigerian capital, but it and the European Union at large fully supports the position taken by ECOWAS, and it will be closely monitoring that summit of West African leaders in Abuja on Thursday.